is the market update late night. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, I would invite you to hit the like button. This show is brought to you by my Patreon group. Join up, sign up. Asset allocation models. We go tactical, where we have coins we like, coins we don't like, and coins we think will perform as good as the market. Don't miss out. Now, the Bitcoin spot ETF, which is why you are here. What does it mean? You realize that if I do a presentation on if I do a short on YouTube about BlackRock or the spot Bitcoin ETF, I am seeing numbers that I have never seen before, right? That means the big investment banks are working with social media. Anything anybody says about it, it is being promoted. So these guys are serious about improving their name using the ETF. And then there's the eternal question of what does it mean for the market? Jim Cramer said Bitcoin's going to top out today. He is a famous reverse indicator to the point where he does it on purpose. Past approvals and past events in legacy involving Bitcoin have resulted in tops. I have a different idea. What happens if the spot Bitcoin ETF is a non-event for Bitcoin, perhaps until the end of the month, maybe even out until May? And as soon as they approve the spot Bitcoin ETF, certain altcoins moon. In other words, they effectively, I don't want to say they're the new Bitcoin, but they're the new leaders in the market. In other words, if there is a bullish outcome to the Bitcoin ETF, it could be in Solana and Ethereum. Of course, there's also the sell the fact reaction. We're going to go through all the news and all the charts so you're completely prepared. So whether you're watching this on the 8th of January or the 12th of January, you're going to have the tools and the levels and the macro picture to be able to really, really position yourself correctly. Now, before I go do that, I saw a tweet tonight from a guy that I started working with in 2017. And he said about Bitcoin that you're going to see what they call Darth Maul wicks. In other words, the market will open here and close here, and they'll be wicking up here and wicking down here. Meaning you're going to see dramatic spikes in both directions. And in his opinion, and I agree, that after you have these dramatic spikes in both directions, you're going to retest each spike up and down. You're going to see volatility in Bitcoin that's unprecedented. Now, if you're a day trader, that's great. If you're not, you're going to get caught up in the emotion. I got caught up in the emotion when I saw this thing crashing on Saturday and Sunday night, and then I saw the reversal that followed. You can't help it. Stan Druckenmiller said that. So, wild volatility in Bitcoin, possible upside Ethereum Solana. That's the net. If you want the news and you want the charts, and you want to see live TA on altcoins, stick around. If you want details, asset allocations, daily podcast, it's the Patreon group. It's in the link down below in the description. And I think the producer is going to put it into the live chat. Okay, now with that said, let's welcome Travis. Okay, looking forward. He's got a list of coins. Let me see if I can write down some of them. Okay. Content pack stream. Frankie B is here. Aiken. 5K subscribers incoming. That is the big number on YouTube. 5K. BitBoy Al. CBOS. Don't Ask 6. Steve J. Thought on real world assets on DeFi. Dude, it's so coming. I've got this huge thread to go through. Kali finally caught the show live. Welcome. Vince, hello. Okay. News, let's go. Okay, real world assets on the blockchain. So it's the Bitcoin ETF, and I'm going to start the conversation about the Bitcoin ETF by discussing that this ETF is the beginning of the merge between legacy and crypto, right? In other words, there isn't going to be legacy and crypto or TradFi and DeFi 5 years from now. It's all going to be the same thing. A lot of it running on the blockchain, a lot of it running through legacy mechanisms, but you're going to have the tokenization of assets. Now, by 2030, according to this person, tokenizations of real world assets will be $16 trillion industry. Now, that's like, you see that number and you go, wow, that's a big number. Okay. Let me put it in perspective for you. This person is referencing a study from 1997 that shows 56% of assets held by taxpayers, okay, with a net worth between 600,000 and a million were illiquid. In other words, people have assets, but they can't sell them. And if you totaled up all those illiquid assets, this comes to the conclusion, this is the total size of illiquid asset tokenization would be 16 trillion by 2030. Now, what I just said was that legacy can't buy and sell, and they need crypto to help them buy and sell huge amounts of assets. Okay, which is why our friend Larry, okay, all I have to do is talk about Larry and say BlackRock, and off my content goes. The next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And one of the reasons why they want to start getting involved in Bitcoin is because they know all this stuff's going to be trading on the blockchain. All of it. Anything on the blockchain, anything running on a blockchain will have new value after the Bitcoin ETF. Now, I work with a group. We're launching a water token, right? So we're doing real world assets on the blockchain, and we want to give water a price. So the World Economic Forum doesn't get the water. So real world assets on the blockchain. Sam Price covered it. I retweeted. RWA tokenization has the potential to unlock a new golden age in blockchain and traditional finance. Okay. The Bitcoin ETF is a part of this process. This is a part of the merge between legacy and crypto. Okay. Everyone's talking about Bitcoin going into the legacy system. And now I'm talking about things like commodities and other items going into the crypto system. Okay. WEF 2030 agenda means both food production and water sourcing is intended to come under the control of the globalists. Okay. So you can have two things in water. You can have the World Economic Forum set the price and control distribution with a carbon or social credit score, or you can have a free market. What is the only solution to tyranny? Free markets. Free markets beat tyranny. So something to think about, especially when we're talking about the decentralized world. Now, speaking of tyranny, Uncle Gary Gensler issuing a warning on crypto ahead of potential spot Bitcoin ETF. Okay, so this is Gary's way of telling you that he endorses the spot Bitcoin ETF versus regular speculation in crypto. He's like, basically all of crypto is bad, so do the Bitcoin ETF. He just left out do the Bitcoin ETF, which is why he's approving it. Now, for the live stream audience, again, the Bitcoin ETF will have a monster derivatives market attached to it in the TradFi system. And eventually, after the chase is over, that will allow big legacy players like BlackRock and the Fed to at least stop Bitcoin from going to $1 million. Okay. Even though, there will be massive inflows initially, the derivatives market will give them a mechanism to control Bitcoin, which is why I think as soon as they get done approving this, certain parts of crypto can just indiscriminately move, right? If it's sell the fact, it's sell the fact, but people are going to move to a different component of crypto because, this will eventually be used to control or at least put a lid on Bitcoin. Now, in the short term, personally, things like January, April, May, I don't think the Bitcoin halving is sell the fact. Okay. Some of the work that my group has done would indicate May, June. That's the time frame. The objective is to get to Bitcoin before BlackRock does. That's the new game. So forget what they can control when the markets mature. In the meantime, it's a chase to get to Bitcoin. Now, that's great, but that's not going to be easy. And they're going to wick you out on the top and the bottom, and it's going to be really emotional. Frankly, it was really emotional today, right? In other words, it was down Sunday night, and the reversal was huge. Now, back to Solana. Solana meme coins dropped 80% after the December frenzy. Okay. Now, speculation is good because it brings capital into the ecosystem. Getting wrecked is obviously not good. And frequently, big bull markets start off with the most highly speculative or junk rallying way more than anyone expected. Okay, so now that we've mooned meme coins on multiple networks, I have an idea. Let's figure out what's going to work for the next cycle. In other words, in the Patreon group, link down below, we got 3 coins we published yesterday. We're going to add 2 more. Naturally, you got to go to the group to see those, see if it's your coin. What is going to work for the next cycle? And everything from the last cycle is not going to make it over to the new one. Like you saw stuff up double digits today. Stuff that was up double digits today, that's probably the stuff they're going after, right? But the first cycle was meme coins, and then those people got wrecked, or at least the people who chased the junk, right, and the scams or got caught. You don't want to do that. You want to figure out what's next, what's for the next cycle. Not only that, but what are the catalysts for the next cycle? In other words, it's not automatic. People thought this meme coin stuff was automatic. It looked like it because everything would 5 and 10x immediately. But you got to remember, for the last cycle, the average altcoin moon was 10x. So they 10x'd all this stuff. Okay, now what? Well, you got to find the altcoins and the networks for the next cycle and the different forms of money. And that's why you're here listening to this. Spot Bitcoin ETF applicants file amended S1 forms in the final step towards approval. Never in my life have I seen financial minutia reported as vigorously as it's being reported about the Spot Bitcoin ETF. What happens if everything that's going on with this ETF, obviously it's going to bring inflows. Obviously it's going to be good, right? At some point. But what if this whole Bitcoin ETF thing, at least right now, is a distraction from some kind of bigger rally that could happen, right? Like what happens if the Bitcoin ETF is a distraction from ETH and ETH bottoms and goes up? That'd be pretty funny, right? In other words, crypto can say, hey, congratulations on your new ETF. Now we're taking up certain coins. It's either that or sell the fact. Sell the fact, in my mind, would be disappointing. I think it's more like a crazy extreme volatility. But this is a distraction. That's my opinion. Now, macro. U.S. Congress reaches $1.6 trillion spending. At least they're not dumb enough to do a government shutdown with Watcher Guru reporting that they're adding $1 trillion to the debt every couple of months or weeks. So at least they're not dumb enough to do that. And this is, of course, a reminder of why we crypto and why we Bitcoin. So sell the fact or not, this is why we Bitcoin. Largest U.S. banks set to log sharp rise in bad loans. So this whole cycle got kicked off not by the Bitcoin ETF, but the speculative mania got kicked off by the Fed doing some sort of injection of high-powered money into the banking system, sometimes known as QE. This was a little different, but they injected massive amounts of high-powered money into the system to save U.S. and American banks from commercial real estate and a total debacle in China. And this thing that's going on in the Red Sea is also serious in terms of how it could dampen trade. No one's talking about that. But this is why we Bitcoin. This is why we crypto, right? This is why, for example, if Bitcoin is now in the hands of legacy and is going to be highly volatile on emotion, certain privacy coins have gotten wasted because of the Binance warning list. I don't know what's left as money outside Bitcoin, possibly ETH and Solana. So this is why we Bitcoin. This could be why we ETH too. No one's talking about that. The Tinder box overseas, right? Region on the brink. A very underreported catalyst. A very underreported catalyst. Content creators fight back against AI. Let me ask you something. Who do you want controlling your life? Who do you want controlling your money? Who do you want controlling your water? Not these guys, not the Magnificent Seven. Okay. Speaking of the Magnificent Seven, there are 7 big tech stocks that basically dominate the United States capital markets, right? Microsoft, Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Google, etc. The Magnificent Seven, NVIDIA is in there as well. Now, not only do these stocks basically determine what happens to U.S. equity indices, right? Like if those stocks are up, people think the stock market's up, even though if every other stock is getting killed, which is what happened last year. Not only is that disturbing, but ownership of equities, people think is very democratic, that you can buy stock in a company and maybe have say in what goes on. Yeah, that's not the case. BlackRock, Vanguard, all these companies, they own so much stock that they can call up a corporation and tell them, hey, this is how you're going to behave. This is how you're going to run your company. These are the social norms we want you to operate by because we own a ton of your stock. Not exactly democracy. This is why we crypto. Apple, the world's most valuable stock, is about to start growing again because they're going to release incredibly expensive gadgets to people with no money, and people will pay it. This stock is worth $3 trillion or more. What's total crypto market cap? I don't know, 1.7 trillion. All of crypto, all of Web3 is not worth as much as one hardware stock. Think about that. Think about that. In the Bitcoin ETF battle, Grayscale has a huge advantage. Why? Because they have $27 billion in Bitcoin. One of the biggest opportunities with the Bitcoin ETF is the companies that have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, like Grayscale. They may have their own Bitcoin ETF, but some big player, if they want all this Bitcoin, they're going to have to take over the companies that own it. That's Grayscale, that's MicroStrategy, that's Marathon, Hut 8, whatever you want to call it. The Bitcoin miners. The big opportunity in Bitcoin, possibly between now and say May, is these Bitcoin stocks. I mean, where are these guys going to get all this Bitcoin from? Where are they going to get it? Like, are they going to go into the open market and bid Bitcoin up to 250,000 and embarrass the United States government, right? That the dollar's no good and everyone's going to buy Bitcoin. I mean, they got to have discretion, at least, up until it reaches like 150K. So where are they going to get the Bitcoin from? They're going to have to take over these companies. Yellen says extending tax cuts would worsen the deficit. Okay. And notably, Treasury chief says G7 intends to study asset seizure. Let me get this straight. The dollar is the world reserve currency. And if you have assets denominated in that currency, we can just take it. No matter how good or bad you are. That's scary. That should result in a much lower value of the dollar. People are like, oh, the dollar's going to disappear. It's not going to be the reserve currency. Who cares about that? What I care about is the value of the dollar, right? The United States is an ungovernable country, people fighting with each other constantly. And then there's this whole idea that we can just take your money if it's denominated in dollars. Again, this is why we crypto. Okay. What the world's top financial minds are predicting for 2024. Now, I'm not going to go through all this because of recency bias, right? What was everyone saying at the end of last year? It's going to the moon and beyond. Stocks and crypto are going to the moon. And then all of a sudden stuff gets volatile and everybody goes, ooh, wait a minute. Personally, I think the rally is later. And then you have to watch out for Rectember. It's not that complicated. It's actually buy in May and sell in September. Summer rally, classic stuff. Okay. In the meantime, the word of the day is volatility. And don't get in the way of Solana and ETH unless this market makes me eat my words. The spot Bitcoin ETF may bring $50 to $100 billion of inflows, says Standard Chartered Bank. Actually, dude, it's a lot more than that. If 1% of global pension funds invested in Bitcoin, that's $560 billion. That's like 250K Bitcoin, like right off the start. So, you know, this guy thinks, I don't know. I don't know if I have it up here, but this guy also thinks 100K Bitcoin is assured. I think the all-time high is assured. I think the president of the United States and the Treasury are going to have problems with over 100K, but it's probably going to get there. Investors are the clear winner as the Bitcoin ETF fee battle. In other words, everybody wants to have the Bitcoin spot ETF. So fees on that ETF are going to go down, which is going to make people want to buy it. Right? Legacy people are going to want this, folks. I'm not saying that they're not. The question is, what's the short-term tactical trade? Okay. The Ether ETF is coming as, you know, allegedly the SEC gives us a implicit nod with ETH as a commodity. Well, nothing is ever given with the SEC, and ETH is proof of work. And I think ETH would be better off if there was no ETF, because ETH could be, you know, the alternative outside. ETH could be the alternative outside of Bitcoin. ARK's ETF rebalancing with them selling Coinbase. So yeah, Kathy Wood wants to buy Bitcoin. She wants to buy the Bitcoin ETF. I get it. You know, everybody kind of giving up on Coinbase. I don't agree. Don't agree. Okay. No shortage of Bitcoin news. A $1.2 million Genesis wallet. Who's trying to flush Satoshis out? Somebody paid huge amounts of money to, I think, inscribe something on the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay. 4 critical Bitcoin ETF factors ahead of the SEC's imminent decision. Notice, everything is about the SEC. When is the crypto market going to get off the SEC? When? Kathy Wood says Bitcoin has a lot more room to run. ETF approval could be a green light moment. Well, naturally, she's talking her book, and she is right. But there could be huge volatility in the meantime. I mean, Kathy Wood says it's going up. Kramer says it's going up, which leads people to say, oh, no, it could go down. Okay. Past ETF releases, the Coinbase IPO, the Bitcoin futures contract, the Bitcoin futures ETF, all resulted in tops. I personally think it's going to result in nothing. It's going to result in extreme volatility in the short term. Then eventually, obviously, it's going to go up. Right? Obviously. Now, what's not obvious, again, is what's the catalyst. Kathy Wood's is not going to hurt herself by saying it, but the fact of the matter is there's going to be a problem with the dollar. There is. Okay. Arthur Hayes says there could be a 30% Bitcoin crash as markets get washed out on an eventual banking crisis. Okay, that's interesting. I think if there's a banking crisis, the Fed is going to print so much money and the Chinese are going to print so much money that I don't know how capital markets are ever going to go down. I think if capital markets in Bitcoin do go down, it's because the bond market has some like fantasy that the Fed is cutting rates at every single meeting this year in an election year. That's never happened. Like, you know, that kind of easing cycle in an election year. Like they've cut rates a couple of times during an election year, but you know, if people don't get, you know, 6 rate cuts, that could cause a correction in crypto. Do we care about that right now? No. Like I was telling you before about the Fed, Nirvana is the Fed not tightening with the next move a rate cut without knowing what causes the rate cut, because it could be something bad. Okay. After ETF decision, US debt announcement may be pivotal for crypto traders. So, you know, we may go back to a world where, you know, US government debt and problems with interest rates start coming back into focus. Again, all the minutia about the spot Bitcoin ETF is a distraction from something. Now, the media, being that they're geniuses, think it's a distraction from something bad. I guess it could be because of the bond market fantasy, but it could also be something where, again, Solana and ETH just take off. Also, again, as a reminder, everything from the last cycle won't make it. So if certain things do go up, the whole market's not going to go up. Certain things will go up. So instead of a crypto market, you'll have a market of cryptos. Okay. If a Bitcoin ETF is approved, here's what may happen. Okay. You know, there's no end to this, right? How will the market react? Emotionally. That's how the market will react. Okay, let's see who's here. Canuck Dave loves the Patreon. I'm glad, right? Crypto Blood, aka Red Nugget. Happy New Year to you. Okay, Crypto Blood in the house, catching the show live. I appreciate that, sir. Digital Bobby, Steve J, Solana VC token unlocks March of 2025. Yes, don't forget, VCs are holding Solana. Matter of fact, in my opinion, people selling Solana are the only thing that kept it from going to 200, because it would have been a repeat of 2021, and venture capital and bag holders from the last cycle are probably the only thing that held Bitcoin, that held Solana back. Okay. All right. Vince says, we want to know what coins you see that will underperform. Okay. Well, actually that list is long. It's probably too long. There are a lot of layer ones on there. We'll go through some charts, but you know, not every layer one is going to go up the way it did in the first part of the cycle. In other words, everybody bought in today. The reversal looked incredible. Okay. The market, just so you know, it's punishing you if you sell it when it's down and you buy it when it's up. You're in the hands of the traders right now. Okay. Digital Bobby says Bitcoin is going up forever. Okay. Steve J says free markets only come with a finite number. That is true. That is true. Somebody wants a Galaxy update. Don't let me forget. Okay. Don't let me forget. Schiller, Notorious Bill, welcome. Okay. Welcome to the show. Don't ask 6. Now let's go to PowerPoint, also known as your market update. Okay. This show is brought to you by my Patreon, patreon.com/unhinged crypto. We do have a free section. Okay. If you want the altcoin lists, they're in there. And I've got a tactical update on Solana and Bitcoin. Jim Cramer says Bitcoin is going to top out. Okay. What if everyone is wrong and Bitcoin does wild wicking in both directions? Naturally, people are going to think this is super bullish. Cramer is doing this on purpose. Okay, let's discuss TA. Total crypto market cap. So this is everything. Okay. Just as a point of information, there is no resistance between 1.6 trillion and 2.17. So at the point that it wants to go, it can just go. Now, is that tomorrow? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. But the point is, once this wants to go, they're going to add $1 trillion to total crypto market cap. That's going to be Bitcoin, ETH, Solana. It's going to be epic. I just don't know if it's tomorrow. Now, if something could be tomorrow, right? So let's think positive. Total 3 is total crypto market cap without Bitcoin and Ethereum. So in other words, it's Solana and friends, right? So resistance was at 515 billion. They broke through the resistance and came back and retested it twice brutally. One was a wick down. The other one looked like a crash or sell the fact, and then they brought it back. There is really no resistance between where total crypto market cap is right now and 603 billion, which is why Solana has a huge amount of room. The only thing that's holding Solana back, in my opinion, is VC selling. Or whoever is a bag holder from the last cycle. That's the only thing that's stopping Solana. Okay. Bitcoin, the key pivot level. So if you're watching this 3 days from now, I think the key DeMark pivot level is 47,600. Okay. Now, that happens to be the location of a very important DeMark level. Okay. That's right around 48K. So I don't know. Let's call it 48K. If Bitcoin has a topping signal here, and this dotted line is what I would call the blow off top level from Tom DeMark. So Tom DeMark's work is like this trend is stretched out, which we kind of know, but the market's ignored these signals before. And then if the market goes through where the blow off top should stop, which is 48K, right? If the market blows through that, retests it and keeps going, well, then you know the party is on. Okay. But there could be a lot of wicking back and forth around 48. That's kind of what it feels like could happen. If not, it's game on. They take out 48, they retest 48 and keep going, forget about it. It's gone because of what's going on total crypto market cap. So it's not if they moon these things, it's just when. Okay, Solana on a 90-minute chart and Elliott wave lesson. So Elliott wave moves a trend will have 5 waves. This was invented by a guy who sat on a beach and literally watched the waves come in and invented this whole system by watching nature. So waves 1, 3, and 5 are in the direction of the trend, which in Solana at the moment is up. So you start with a little wave 1 and a little wave 2, and nobody thinks Solana is going to go above 75, and then boom, it goes to 125. Kind of classic, right? Everyone thinks it can't go up, and it goes way up. Then once people think it can go way up, right? I thought it could go to 200 like it did in 2021, but that's not what happened. You got this huge nauseating correction, which is very typical, right? The wave 2 is a correction. The wave 4 is a correction. If the wave 2 is small, the wave 4 is big and broad. So, they ran the stops at a key fib level around 93. It's a 62% retracement of the big trend. They ran those stops twice, like brutally. First, they wicked it down. Then they traded it down. God, it's like, traders got toasted on this. Anybody who tried to get long Solana with a stop just got smoked. So naturally, after they get everybody out, then they moon it. And the point of this is you had wave 1 up, wave 3 up. There could be wave 5 up. You could have a very emotional new high in Solana. Now, total 2 is total crypto market cap without Bitcoin. In other words, ETH and friends. Again, just like total 3, you were in this huge range. You broke out and you've been banging on the top of this range and it's not going down. It's not going down. And this negative divergence is just working itself out. So ETH weekly. Look at ETH sit on support at 2140. It's been here now for like 6 weeks. this is a huge level, right? It was the April high last year. It was the April breakdown point off Celsius in 2022, a reaction low in January of 2022, and the takeoff point in July of 2021. So, I mean, there's been no way ETH has been able to go up. And I've been thinking that the only catalyst for ETH is that Bitcoin is now going to be perceived as being owned by BlackRock. I mean, Bitcoin is going up. I understand that. When is Bitcoin going up? I don't know. But if Bitcoin is all of a sudden BlackRock coin, and the race is to get the Bitcoin before BlackRock does, I'm just wondering if that's the catalyst and everybody goes, oh, okay, well, let's rebel and buy ETH. ETH versus Bitcoin. Okay, so if you want to know what a 5-wave looks like, this is what a 5-wave looks like. In this case, ETH has been underperforming Bitcoin, or ETH versus Bitcoin has been going down. So it's just down, 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 down. ETH just goes down versus Bitcoin every single day until it reaches a DeMark 9 bottom. And I'm wondering, as soon as they approve this thing, ETH just goes straight up and unwinds all this emotion, because this feels emotional when ETH underperforms Bitcoin every single day. This is the emotion of the Bitcoin ETF. You want to try not to be emotional, even though I kind of just did. I kind of just did, right? I narrowed the buy list down to like 4 or 5 coins, and I put a lot of good stuff on the neutral list. Now I've moved 2 of them over, but I should have stayed a little more neutral on the market. My buy stuff did good, but you got to go to Patreon to check it out. ETH, this feels emotional. Okay, Lido LDO, right? It gets to a high and it doesn't back off. Like, we're trying to find out what's new for the next cycle. Something goes to its high and doesn't back off, right? Where it should be, it should get hit and it doesn't. That can be a sign. There's a new way to read charts for the next cycle. Okay, SUI, okay, all of these hot layer ones. 95 cents is a key pivot. It's above 95 cents. It's got room to go to 130. If they can't get above 95 cents, some of this hot, smaller stuff may stall out as ETH and Solana take off. Now, I'm not going to get dogmatic about anything, right? The trend is your friend. I got high conviction positions. I'm highly convicted about a bull market, but bull markets are not easy. And people made a lot of money in these small coins, and they may make more money, right? But they got to take out resistance, right? This is like a consolidation below it. Every dip gets bought. Okay. And if it breaks out, then all this stuff's going to break out, right? In other words, what's the new stuff? If this is really for the next cycle, they'll take out 95 cents. And if they do, probably all hell's going to break loose on the upside, right? Just use your chart levels, right? You know what's going to happen. The charts and the market will tell you what's going to work for the next cycle. Aptos, okay, may or may not be next cycle, but they slammed it down to support at $7.70. And, you know, if that holds, if the market goes back down again, that's going to be a telling sign. They got room here to 12.5. If it breaks $7.70, well, you know what? Then it's in the meh zone, because a lot of cryptos may wind up in the meh zone after the Bitcoin ETF, right? It's not going to be a crypto market. It's going to be a market of cryptos, right? Now, I would love it if these coins took off. You know, SEI, the alleged Solana killer, you know, you had a lot of boomer crypto types discover this after some of the smart coin pickers took a victory lap up here, right? This thing didn't back off. Okay. Now, if the market does go down, so these things may be vulnerable if they don't break out. But if this thing breaks out above 75 cents, it's making a statement. Like, this is the Solana of the small and mid cap market. So if they break this thing out at 75 cents, it could just go and go and go. And if not, then you don't have to rush in. Do not, listen to me, do not make emotional decisions in the next 10 days. If you missed it, it'll come back. Or you can figure out how to get in at another point. I do not want people to lose money getting emotional when this thing could all take off at the end of the month. right? In other words, don't get killed. Don't get killed. If the thing breaks out, go with it. If it doesn't break out, something else might go. Again, it's a market of cryptos. Okay, Standard Chartered Bank, we covered this. They see 50 to 100 billion coming in. Standard Chartered Bitcoin could reach 200,000 by the end of 2025. You do have to be careful when investment banks start publishing hyperbole pieces at the top of a market. I was a little guilty. I thought Solana could go mental on the upside. That's not what happened. And frequently, that's not what happened. So be careful about everybody thinking it's going to 200K. Yes, it is going to 200K, but I don't know if it's going to 200K tomorrow. Now, on the flip side, Bitcoin is way too far off of its all-time high, right? Stocks are at their all-time highs. Bitcoin is still 50% below it. And Kramer thinks it's topping out. So, you know, like I said, you follow that rule about 48K. Big money is coming. The key with Bitcoin is everybody is going to chase anything in crypto. Alts, you got to get ahead of the hedge funds. Bitcoin, you got to get ahead of BlackRock, right? Whatever's going to take off for the next cycle, they may buy it right off the ETF announcement. Or they may buy any volatile dip off the ETF announcement. Okay, you're going to know what's going to work for the next cycle. It may be hard to trade, but you're going to know because the market is going to tell you. Like the market's going to tell you, is Avalanche a security token play or is it all about ETH and Solana? You're going to know. Okay, same thing with NEAR, right? Travis was talking about NEAR. Algorand was up big today, right? What is going to take off after the Bitcoin ETF, right? The market will tell you. A brief word, I think I've already said it. Do not think that these guys in the investment banks are your friends. Everyone is like, number go up. Yeah, number's going to go up, but they're eventually going to have control. And this is why I think that when the next rally happens, it'll be in the things that they don't necessarily have control over. So if Bitcoin eventually goes up 30%, you could have 100% returns in other assets. So I'm not hating on Bitcoin, but people may be disappointed if they rush in and buy Bitcoin tomorrow and it doesn't go straight to 100K. These guys may not be your friends. Okay. A word on privacy coin and humility. So privacy coins are destroyed. There is a 13 bottom in Zcash. That's how destroyed they are. They're on some kind of warning list. The government is going to probably try some settlement with Binance where they're going to have to take these privacy coins off Binance. Let me ask you something. Does anybody really think that you're not going to need privacy in a future world? Like where the World Economic Forum is going to tie water to a social credit score or a carbon credit score? You don't think you're going to need privacy in this world? What are the catalysts for the next cycle? Could privacy be one of them? Could this be the equivalent of the emotional downtrade in Solana and Cardano? Remember when Gensler named 60 altcoins and he said that they were all securities and people sold them with reckless abandon and that turned out to be a major low? Just because the Bitcoin ETF is coming out, don't stop thinking. Don't let Gensler and BlackRock lobotomize you to the point where you miss opportunities. Now, is it privacy coins? Maybe, right? This is awful tough to deal with if they're coming off Binance, but that doesn't mean they're not so cheap. You might be able to pick it up because you might actually need to use it 3 years from now. And that is the market update. Okay. Somebody needs a Galaxy Digital update. It would be rude not to handle that. So let's get busy on Galaxy Digital. Oh my God, look at Solana up 5%. Forget about it. Holy cow. They're not even going to wait. They're not going to wait for the approval. They're not going to wait. Polkadot may be in that camp too, although Polkadot's not doing anything right now. Market is going to tell you what's next. They're going to tell you. So you better be listening and not distracted by the minutia of these headlines. I'm telling you. Now, Galaxy, again, oh my God, you look at this, right? Here's the accumulation cone. So Jesse Livermore, a famous technical analyst from the early 20th century, shows you that there's these accumulation cones that can develop that lead to parabolic rallies. This is how Jesse Livermore drew this formation in his notebook. Look what they did to Galaxy, man. Look at this. They just sold it. They knocked it down from 12 to 10, 12 to 9. They gave you like a 30% correction in a crypto stock that has a gap at 13 that they didn't even fill. They couldn't get there. They were too afraid of the gap. What happens when they're afraid of a resistance point? When you're afraid of a resistance point and they don't get there, when they finally do get there, they just blow through it. I mean, Galaxy was at 27 when Celsius started. What, you think Novogratz is not hoovering up everything, not just Bitcoin, that he's going to have his spot Bitcoin ETF? He is just going to be like, we're going to go Schwab on this. We're going to go fee free. You don't think Novogratz can afford, especially if he owns the entire rest of the market, every NFT? He's got VC going on. He's been hoovering up the entire ecosystem for a year. I mean, yeah, maybe they'll have a fee on the Bitcoin ETF, but I mean, are you going to bet against a crypto hedge fund? Everyone's like, ooh, Van Eck says this. Oh my God, are you kidding me? This is what we should be talking about. Huckleberry Native, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you. Okay. So I did see somebody wanted to talk about Near. Let's talk about it. Okay. So here is a close-up shot of Near. You know, you've got intense diagonal resistance at 3.7. So if Near is going to be for the next cycle, it will smash through 3.7 and probably go possibly as high as 6, most likely to 5.9. Okay, if Near is for real. I kind of hope it is. I like it. But the stuff that starts creeping higher around this Bitcoin ETF, they're going to let you know that that's the stuff for the next cycle, right? We keep talking about, oh, the cycle, as if you could press a button and make a whole bunch of money automatically. No, there's going to be catalysts, macro catalysts, micro catalysts, right? Right? Pancakes and peanut butter can't bring himself to watch ADA, to like Cardano. I kind of don't blame you, right? T-Bone is here. Welcome, right? T-Bone is here. There is a group of people in my Patreon who are like, you know, they're like promoters. They're out there on their Twitter promoting it, which I want to let you know, and I have in the past, that I appreciate it. Now, Algorand. Okay, Wild Wild West. Is Algorand for the next cycle? Well, what I can tell you about Algorand is look at these wicks, right? They actually wicked this thing down below the other wick. So, you know, they're pushing everybody out in Algorand. Okay, now I want to bring this up. It's very important. People may want to buy the dip because people have been trained to buy the dip by what happened in December. The question is, everyone wants to buy the dip, but do people want to pay higher prices? Now, Solana up 5%, whether that stays that way or not, people are willing to pay higher prices in Solana. Are they willing to pay higher prices in Algorand? That remains to be seen. Right? People don't mind buying the dip when it's down 10%, but the thing is, after it comes all the way back, are they going to buy it? Now, the market will tell you that. Now, if you have a fundamental case for algo, and I get it, it exists. Wall Street liked it back in the day as a security token play. Okay. All right. But despite the fundamentals, like before, I was like, throw out the charts. The theme of 6th Street Crypto, which is the podcast that's inside the Patreon. Last year, I was like, throw out the charts, right? It's going up. Now, maybe we're still in that mode, but you want to see people pay higher prices. You know, you want to at least know that your coin is for the next cycle, because not every coin is going to just indiscriminately move, especially if Bitcoin gets choppy. Okay, Chainlink. So you don't really get anywhere in the world by being bearish Chainlink. Okay, what I can tell you about Chainlink that's very important is that Chainlink retraced the entire Celsius decline. This is why Chainlink is important. In other words, if Chainlink can do it, the whole market can do it. I mean, do you realize this, you know, like where total crypto market cap could go if total crypto market cap does what Chainlink did? So I think once everything unwinds Celsius, it's basically priced for perfection, which is why Chainlink is really not moving. Now, just as a reminder about Chainlink, everything from 2017 did not come back in 2020. Cardano came back, Chainlink came back, CryptoPunks came back, Synthetics came back, I believe. Everything didn't come back. Like 3 coins made it. Now, it'll probably be more than that this time around, but everybody's not going to be happy, right? Winner take all is a saying from technology economics from 20 years ago about things, people like Microsoft and Apple having operating systems that people just couldn't live without. You may have the exact same thing with layer ones. You may have winner take all. It's something to think about, right? SEI, super hot, right? If it stays super hot, they could be some of the people that, you know, bite into Solana. Because in 2021, you know, you had an ETH killer and then you had another ETH killer and they just kept jumping around. But this time they were jumping around doing meme coins. You know, meme coins may work, but I'm personally really looking at real world assets on the blockchain, right? Or things like Render, where you have this decentralized physical infrastructure. We had Render on the sell list, saved one of our customers money. And even though we have not been perfect lately, we did get people out of Render at 5 and then had Render turn around and go to 3 something. And now we're turning around, and I don't mind saying that, you know, Render is probably going to be one of the things that makes it, right? I mean, how can you fade that, particularly when they gave you such an enormous discount, right? They gave you an enormous, I saw somebody asking about VeChain, and I did see VeChain up a lot. And of course, okay, let me get this for Steve, because Steve is a devout believer in DeFi Perp. So DeFi from the last cycle, will it come back or will it be Lido? I don't know. I got to think that you could have an epic move in DeFi, right? You need exactly the right catalyst, but they're brutalizing you with this rounding bottom, right? It breaks out, it gets to resistance here, but then they're bringing it right back down. And of course, they're wicking it. It's just like, it's impossible, right? It breaks out. It looks like it's going to the moon. They sell it. They take it down. It looks like it's going to collapse. They buy it back. DeFi Perp this could be what the rest of the market could look like. And you don't want to get chopped up in that. You want to stay on trend, on point, and you don't want to get emotional, which is impossible. Stan Druckenmiller said, you know, you get euphoric on the way up, and then as soon as it goes down, you want to sell everything. And controlling your emotions is impossible. He bought the top. He sold at the internet stock boom. He sold it 3 months before it topped. Just made crazy amounts of money because he was holding it for years. And then he bought it all back at the top. And then he lost $3 billion. Stan Druckenmiller. This is a big guy featuring Patreon. And then somebody asked him what he learned after he bought the top. And he basically said, nothing. I got emotional. I bought the top. That's it. You know, I got emotional 2 days ago and took a lot of the market from neutral to underperform. It underperformed for like 1 day. And now it's like ripping back, it's crazy. You can get chopped up. I'm telling you, don't get chopped up. Like Stan made a mistake. Learn from Stan's mistake, right? I got a half a mistake, right? Don't make that mistake. Don't lose your capital, right? Warren Buffett, rule number 1, don't lose money. Don't lose money. Don't get distracted by spot Bitcoin ETF minutia. Focus on what's next for the next cycle. Okay, Silas, what do I think about Litecoin? Litecoin basically makes me want to cry, okay? Because Litecoin got caught in this privacy coin calamity. Now, that said, I'm not giving up, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that you should have your entire life savings in Litecoin. I'm just telling you that right now. So if you have to trim your position to keep your position, well, then make the appropriate adjustments, not investment advice. But this does look like some sort of cone. Litecoin could break this diagonal resistance at 73 by going sideways. You know, the Bitcoin network is going to get so busy that I can't see Bitcoin ever being used as like a practical currency. So maybe it's Litecoin. Like I know it looks bad for like Litecoin and Zcash, but like I saw Bitcoin Cash kind of wake up today, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Bitcoin Cash is a coin for the next cycle. You know, that's not based on any like hard TA, although I'm pulling this up and I'm kind of interested in this. Like, you know, Bitcoin Cash on, say, a daily chart, right? There's a hidden pivot level at 223, and it continues to hold that support level. I'm really interested in Bitcoin Cash, particularly since they launched it off this point. But again, geez, look at this chop, right? It's unbelievable chop there, right? You got to try to stay out of it. And if you do stay out of it, you got to just hodl it and deal with the emotion. Baby Whale is in the house. Smack Talk. What's going on? Oh my God. Harry Potter, Sonic Inu. Holy cow. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we got to pull that up, right? All right. Harry Potter, Sonic Inu is the Bitcoin symbol in the alt market. Okay. So very interesting. I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Now, I don't want people to go out and be stupid, but this is reminiscent of Pepe because the consolidation is square. A square. So it would be kind of funny. It would be kind of funny if they approved the Bitcoin ETF and then this thing with the Bitcoin symbol actually went up. Kind of funny, right? I don't mind doing the trade, but it's not really at the low. It's not down here. It's kind of in trading nowheresville, right? But, you know, this is interesting. Let me see if I can get a fib number on this. Okay. See how it's hanging out at this 62% retracement level, like right at 0.087 if I've got the right symbol. You know, that's the level. It's got to be above that to be good. If you're not above the 62% retracement on these altcoins, it's not good. But the square consolidation there is somewhat interesting. Okay. Okay. Schiller wants the root token. can't believe I'm doing requests for you guys tonight. There's so much love out there with the Bitcoin ETF. Okay. Okay. With stuff like this, so if I've got the right token, you got a new high in price. You got a lower high in stochastics. Now, on the way up, so you know, you were paid to ignore these type of things and buy every single dip. Like this divergence, this is root 4 hour, right? So this won't be necessarily relevant in a couple days. But if root ignores what goes on here with the stochastics and keep going, it's a statement. In other words, the market in December made statements by ignoring all the bearish divergences in total 3. And then, of course, it caught up with the market. Okay. With this, you know, like I said, in a market of cryptos where people are getting emotional, what I can tell you in root is what I'm telling you in the rest of the market. Don't get emotional. Don't get emotional. Okay. Because this is important. Because you do not want BlackRock or Gensler putting out headlines, getting all the P-brains to follow every little filing as if, you know, I don't even know if the world needs to spot Bitcoin ETF. I mean, yes, it does for Bitcoin to totally moon, but I think Bitcoin would totally moon anyway because people have Coinbase accounts. Okay. Not doing Bitter Men's Club on the Bitcoin ETF. It's good. Don't get distracted. If root defies if any coin defies a divergence, if it goes to resistance and doesn't back off and then starts to move through it, these are the things that you need to know for the next cycle. The next cycle. It's not about the spot Bitcoin ETF. It's what is good for the next cycle. Okay, people. My Patreon is in the link down below. I would appreciate your support. I will help guide you through the next cycle. Check out the Patreon. I will see you in a week.